Today we're making salted caramel marshmallow s'mores. Personally, I'm not a big fan of normal s'mores. Something about the graham cracker texture with the melted marshmallow. It's just kind of messy to eat. It's never really worked for me. But these definitely do, since it's all contained, and then you get that salted caramel mix in there as well. It works great, and you can do things like torching the marshmallows on top or adding some other flavorings into the marshmallows if you want. But they're a lot of fun. They take about 2 hours to make and then probably 4 hours to wait on things to cool off. So let's get started. First off, we're going to be taking a 9x13 pan, and inside of that we'll be adding saran wrap to all of the edges of the pan. Here I've added a couple different layers just to make sure that all of the sides are covered. And then we're going to take some powdered sugar and liberally apply that everywhere inside of the pan. I'm just using a sifter here to try to get a nice coating. Moving on to making our marshmallows. In a stand mixer, we'll attach our whisk, and then we'll add into that 1/2 cup of water and then 3 packages of gelatin, which works out to be about 3/4 ounce. You can gently stir that with your mixer, and then we're going to leave this sit for about 5 minutes so that it can bloom inside of the water. Now moving over to the stove, I have a pan here that I've added into it 1.5 cups of sugar, 1 cup corn syrup, 1/2 teaspoon salt, and 1/2 cup of water. For this, we're going to be gently stirring this mixture up until that sugar is dissolved in the mix, and then we're going to leave it alone until it reaches a temperature of 240 degrees, which should take you about 8 minutes. Going back over to our stand mixer, we're going to turn it on low speed, and then we're going to slowly pour in our sugar mixture. And be warned that at this point in time, the mixture actually can smell really bad. Something about the heat when it hits the gelatin just can really smell terrible. So I'd recommend turning on a fan or having some kind of ventilation on here at this point if you are able to. After everything is incorporated into the mixture, you're going to turn that mixture on high and then let it whip for about 15 minutes. With about 1 minute to go in your full 15 minutes, you can turn it back on low, and then this is when we're going to add our full tablespoon of vanilla extract. Then you can let it whip for 1 more minute before you're ready to take it out of the bowl. As you're getting ready to take the marshmallow out of the bowl, the biggest thing is you really want to try to move fast here. So as you're scraping the bowl, don't worry about trying to get every last drop. Try to make kind of broad, sweeping movements and get as much out as you can quickly. And then you're going to even that out in the 9x13 pan and cover that with another layer of powdered sugar. After you're done, you're going to set this pan aside and let these marshmallows cool for about 4 hours. Now we move on to making the salted caramel. That's going to be on the insides of our marshmallows. In a pot, I've added 1/2 cup of sugar, and then that's heating on medium heat. We're going to continue heating this for about 5 minutes until all of this sugar completely dissolves and turns a nice amber color. So I'm just showing you the different stages here as it cooks down. Once it does make it all the way to that 5 minutes and all of that sugar melted down completely, we're going to add into that 3 tablespoons of butter. And then once those 3 tablespoons are completely melted, we're going to add in 1/4 cup of heavy cream. And then we'll also add in 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt. If you're going to add regular salt, regular dining salt, instead of sea salt, you'll want to do 1 teaspoon instead, otherwise it can get a bit salty. After you've done that, you'll throw the mix back onto your stove for about 1 more minute, and then you'll take it off the heat. You can then pour that caramel into a ramekin or a bowl that you have, and we'll put that in the fridge to cool down. After the marshmallows have cooled, we can go ahead and get to cutting them. So here I'm just flipping my pan upside down and pulling that saran wrap, and then the marshmallows should release. They can be a bit sticky for the parts where the powdered sugar didn't get to, but you don't need to worry too much. You can just pull on that and they should maintain their shape after you're done taking the saran wrap off. I'm cutting this block into about 3-inch segments, but you can really cut it into whatever sizes you're looking to do. For me, after I was done cutting these segments, I went ahead and kind of squared them all off, cutting off the ends and then cutting off the tops as well, just to make them all nice and square. After I was done shaping the blocks, I took each segment and divided it into thirds to get my roughly 3 by 3 squares of marshmallows. After you're done cutting the marshmallows, you'll want to get a cookie drying sheet, and then if you want to, on top of that, you could also place a piece of parchment paper on there. So here I've raised the marshmallows onto that sheet, and then I've taken my caramel and put it into a piping bag. You could also just put it into a Ziploc bag and cut the tip. And that way it's pretty easy to manage putting that caramel on top of the marshmallows. And then I've just thrown it in the fridge to cool off that caramel so that when I add the chocolate later, it won't melt the caramel. After the caramel has cooled in the fridge, we're going to be melting down 1.5 cups of chocolate chips and 2 teaspoons of coconut oil. That you'll melt at about 20 to 30 second increments until it's the consistency you're looking for. That'll make it pretty easy to dip these marshmallows in. Here I've actually decided that I wanted to make another batch of that chocolate just because I was covering them kind of heavy. So as I was melting that chocolate, I started adding some of the graham cracker crust onto these marshmallows. The graham cracker crust is just graham crackers that you put into a Ziploc bag or a food processor and make sure that they're as fine as you would like them to be. After you've covered the last of the marshmallows in that chocolate and graham cracker crust, these things are ready to go. You might want to throw them in the fridge for an hour just to let that chocolate harden, but other than that, you're done. If you like this video, please feel free to subscribe, and if you do have any recipes you'd like to see in the future, please add those to the comments below. I'd love to see what your thoughts are.